How's it going, family? Let me know if you can hear me. Hope you're all doing amazing. How's the mic quality? All right, good, good. Hope you're all doing amazing. I'm excited. Looking forward to chilling a little bit. Happy 3-3 eclipse. Gonna have a lot to talk about today. D. Stellarone says, please have some good news. What do you mean? The world isn't full of good news right now? Hasn't been enough good news for you? I thought the news has been pleasant. All right, we're just gonna say hi to a couple people and then chill, look at some charts, talk consciousness, do what we do. Columbia F, much love. I appreciate you sending lots of love. Tina Paris, appreciate you. Not Tom Cruise, Eclipse mask. Yeah. Okay, we're past the 5 minute mark. I could say looks maxing is gay. You know, a couple of people got mad at me for that post, which was weird. But maybe we could talk about that a little bit later because it's like a super service level thing. It's a very Matrix type vibe, but in a way, I feel like it's gonna get very popular. It's already something popular. Why not talk? Why not talk about it? There's always a conscious angle in the midst of the collapse, in the midst of Babylon's columns buckling. Also, I hope that my microphone isn't too loud. I might have it a little close. Ascension now. Appreciate you. Much love. Matt Grimes says, "Flip the switch." What switch, though? What switch would you like to flip? Can someone in the chat give me a brief synopsis of what's been going on lately with the guy from Cardano, Charles Hoskinson, and the stuff with the Clarity Act? Please fill me in. I'm interested. I'm interested to talk a little bit about that. Chat, are we allowed to play clips? I'm always cautious about playing a clip because I'm not even sure if the volume plays. I haven't figured that out yet. I'm like a newbie streamer, you know? Oh, by the way, guys, this will be the 5-year anniversary of Waters Above as of yesterday. Pretty wild, right? 5 years. I just reminded myself yesterday. I didn't prepare today's live stream to talk about that, actually. I wanted to just hang out with you guys, and it's been a minute since I made a crypto-related YouTube video. I thought this new format might be better to actually do a live stream, and obviously, we'll save it. It'll be, pre-recorded and available for everybody to watch the replay, but I didn't even plan on that timing. It's just the eclipse. It's this March 3rd eclipse that we've been talking about forever now, and here we are. So I was like, if there's any time for me to do a live stream with the people, today's the day. But, happy 5 years to Waters Above. I can't believe it, man. It's unbelievable. And I actually, with that being said, I wanna let you all know how grateful I am for every single one of you, man. It's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride. How much truth has been exposed on this channel, but also what's even more important than that is the community, is watching everyone come together, hearing all the stories about people who've made new friends, even partners through this project. I would have never thought in a million years that it would ever have those possibilities. So I just want to be human with y'all for a minute and say how grateful I am for this experience. And I'm looking forward to 5 more years. Minimum. Cheers to 5 more years. Matt Grimes says Japan is making major moves. What moves? All right, you followed up. Carry trade will finally get broken by Strait of Hummus. I love hummus. Everyone talking about these like, oil runways and all this shit. It's like, bro, they're just trying to make uh is it too early? Is it too early for the truth for real? They say it's about oil, but it's really about human trafficking. All right. We'll talk about this a little bit later. It's too early. It's too early. Some people are like, "Oh, we want to talk about charts," and we're already doing this. Some people have never had a Waters Above live stream experience. So maybe the chat could prepare prepare these people. It's going to be a sweaty sauna. You are going to sweat. You're going to sweat a couple ounces today. We're not playing games. Dylan Rolfe, much love, family. All right, let's just pull up a chart in the background so we could have like the illusion of we could have the illusion of looking at charts. One second, guys. I'll put that on full screen. All right, this looks good. This looks good. We got that full screen vibe. This is nice. Let me know if you guys can see the chart clearly. It's important because I don't want to start getting into all of this and then you can't even see what's up. Much love over to South Bavaria. Before we get started on this chart, I'm actually going to break down this one again. It's very important. This is the chart that kind of like makes Waters Above what Waters Above is. For those that are new here, there might be people that are new. Just going to reduce the size of this. It's a little big. Get that size 14 font. I'm going to do the rest of today's live stream in a Cajun accent. I'm going to do the rest of today's live stream as if I am Joe Biden, which means I have about 5 more minutes and then I'm going to poop my diaper and then we're going to have to wrap this one up. Today, we're going to make you laugh. We're going to make you cry. We're going to make you, I don't know, maybe cry twice. Put like a little bit of ambient music in the background. Got 750 beautiful people up in here with us. Shout out to every single one of you. You guys are legends. A lot of people are asking about the new Waters Above platform. We're launching soon. Talk more about that later. That's right. I love this. On chain. Much love. I appreciate you. This is the perfect time to join because we got that new Year of the Horse Decoded out. It's literally the most mind-blowing presentation I've ever put together, and I'm not saying that lightly, like, I seriously mean that. Absolutely packed with gems. I could pivot over to that real quick. These charts aren't going nowhere, and we're just getting started right now. This Year of the Horse Decoded, it's available now. Absolutely epic presentation. I didn't even expect it to be 2 hours long, but it is 2 hours of slides. There's no rants, there's no random tangents. It is literally 2 hours of fire. I poured my heart and soul into this new one. And for anyone who hasn't watched one of my Chinese zodiac series decodes before, this is pretty much my decode for the entire year. I've been doing that for a while. So every single year, we did the dragon last year and did the rabbit before that. This year is super crucial. And one of the things that I loved about creating this is it's not my typical decode. Usually when I decode, I try to keep it very focused on the information and focused on the decode itself. But this time around, I wanted to do something a little bit different. And the angle was I wanted this to be inspiring for everybody. So instead of just like filling your head with a bunch of mind blowing connections, it was more about like, how do we use this information? That was the focus. How do we utilize all of this knowledge? Because I get like that I know how, right? This is what I do. This is my sport. But for a lot of people, they come across things like astrology, gematria, numerology, whatever, and they're like, "Yo, what the hell do I do with all of this?" Right? And I feel that. I get that. After 5 years of doing what I've been doing, that's a common question I get, right? And perhaps we're one of the few quote unquote decoding communities that puts a lot of emphasis on utility. Like for us, it's not just about being spiritual beings who are aware, conscious. It's like, what do we do? How do we apply that knowledge? So that's the difference between having information or knowledge and what we call wisdom. Wisdom is applied knowledge. And our whole thing is about being intuitive, like rebuilding your intuition or reaccessing your intuition. And I went through a lot of that philosophy here in this decode. I put a lot of time and effort into crafting this in a way where if somebody consumed it and then they walked away from it, they would be thinking about the philosophy and they'd be thinking more about the utility stuff rather than just these crazy connections. And that was the aim. Because I'm seeing a lot of this stuff become popular now. Even the eclipse cycle chart that you guys are just looking at, like I'm seeing people who've never talked about eclipses ever in their analysis, and now they're talking about blood moons. And people reach out to me and they're like, Waters, they're not giving you credit or whatever. And I'm like, I don't need that. I actually am I'm happy that people are finding out about this stuff. It's cool. Like it's really cool to me actually. I don't need my flowers. You'll never hear me asking for that. And anytime, by the way, this is another thing to help you guys as we navigate into this Aquarian age. If you ever hear another man asking for his flowers, he's not a man. Never forget I said that. The king doesn't ask for the crown. He takes it and puts it on his own head. But let's keep it moving. I could actually show you guys a little bit of this presentation. Let me see if I could share this other screen. This will actually be cool. I'm like giving you a little sneak peek. A little sneak peek of the jewels. I hope you could see what's on my screen. Maybe I could expand it a little bit more. Give me 1 second. I'm not sure if this helped. I'm not sure if this helped, but I was just talking about this recently because, by the way, this decode was released a couple weeks ago. Technically, it was released the day after Chinese New Year. I would have had it up for Chinese New Year, but I really wanted to make sure that it was polished and whatever version I recorded was the best. And it was a one take, by the way. That's one other thing that people need to know about my work is I don't edit any of my content, so it's a one take. Um, 2 hours of talking straight is a skill. So I made this decode in a very specific way, as I said a little bit earlier, but this is one of those key pieces of information that was released before we even had these events that you're now obviously getting inundated with every time you go on a social media platform. You're seeing something that's about this war, right? I want to be very careful about what we talk about here today. We have to speak in code sometimes, but you all know how it is. We're aiming for longevity here at Waters Above. So we'll speak the truth, but we got to say it in a very specific way. And one thing that I want to say before we get deeper into this is that here our community has an ethos. I brought this up in the Red Pill podcast that I just did. And I said this very early on because I want to set the record straight. Our ethos here at Waters Above and for our mastermind community, our Patreon mastermind community it's very simple. The division ends here. So while we've been revealing the truth about who runs this beast system, we've been very clear about that. But we can't just start categorizing people based on the nation they were born in. Like, you didn't fucking ask for that. So you can't just take somebody who was born in a specific nation and you see where I'm going? Like, I feel like I don't wanna, like, over explain here. I know I'm talking to adults, but I see this shit all the time. Like, I saw this post a couple of, maybe yesterday I saw it with this guy, Dan Bilzerian, and Dan Bilzerian made a quote that Israel should be wiped off the face of this earth. And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, how could you sleep at night after making such a statement? There's literally women and children that have nothing to do with Zionism. And what I've learned, guys, and you've heard me since the beginning, 5 years ago, I talked about Europa: The Last Battle, I talked about Zionism, I talked about the truth of World War II. I literally put up Sanhedrin from the Talmud, and I read you parts of it, okay? But to wish that somebody that a whole nation gets wiped off this earth because you used ChatGPT to find out what fucking Zionism is last year is the most unsophisticated and disgusting way that you could possibly be. So I'll just set the record straight. Hating on people just because they were born by accident in a place that happens to commit these crimes against humanity is just like a level 1 way of thinking. You have to expand more. So I'm not anti-Israel. I'm not anti-Iran. I'm not pro any of that shit either. You have to evolve. Okay? So this duality consciousness, it's kind of tearing us apart. And I'd rather talk more about that today than talk about, the fucking war. Because people see this stuff and they get instantly feel like they need to pick a side. And it's gross. So Waters Above is all about getting rid of the division. That was a big piece to this project, to what we're doing here. And I hope that people remember this. Because even I have been called out for saying things that people want to categorize as me being a certain way and me being against a certain people's. And it's not. And I'll say it for the 200th time. It's not Jews that are the problem. It is Zionism that is the problem. And there are people around the world who are Jesuits, Catholics, Christians, Jews, they're Muslims, etc., that are Zionists. Zionism is a mind parasite. It has nothing to fucking do with where you're born, what religion you prescribe to, or whatever. It just so happens to be that, yes, Zionism is a cousin of this particular religion. But this goes back and back and back to Sumerian times. This mindset, this mind parasite. Yes, they worship Baal. Yes, they worship Moloch. Yes, they worship all of these deities. Yes, they're trying to create the AI demon or the AI god, whatever you want to, like, whatever. But that doesn't by default make every person who's born in those places automatically a problem. I wish more people would talk this way, honestly, because I feel like when I look at any people who are so-called speaking out against the problem, they follow it up with these insane quotes like Israel should be wiped off the face of this earth. Like, how, what does that even mean? I literally think it's like Chat GPT University. Like, people are just figuring out now how to use AI, and they're getting quick facts, and that's how they formulate their entire belief system to be against the other thing. It's laughable at best. But anyways, getting back to this, this is a 2-hour presentation. At minute 7, I did put a warning here on this particular date that we've landed on for Purim. And the story of this holiday coming to be has a direct connection between the Jewish people and Israel. Sorry, Iran, with this connection to ancient Persia. So let me read this real quick. I'm looking at a couple screens because I'm trying to follow your guys' comments, looking at the chat at the same time as I'm looking at the screen. But just for those that are new to this idea, because a lot of people here are not Jewish, they do not practice these Jewish holidays, but you might be aware of them. This holiday commemorates the saving of the Jewish people from the plot to exterminating them in ancient Persia, which would be considered modern day Iran. Now, that's fascinating that 3 days before this March 3rd eclipse, the Purim eclipse, we had this event happen in Iran. And now we're seeing it escalate more and more. By the way, I don't think this is as big of a deal as people are making it for the long term. I don't think it's gonna be something where, like, now every day moving forward, we're just gonna see World War III break out. I do see more conflicts escalating, but I think they will be localized. So the current area of the current region of the Middle East, however you wanna look at it, I would get the fuck out of there ASAP. Like, I don't care about what influencer is telling you about, Dubai or whatever. Like, get out. That area is gonna be a ticking time bomb for a long time. But as for the global conversation, I do not think we're gonna break out into world war. How did I come to that, opinion or thesis? It has to do with this decoding that I do. So I'm gonna save you time by just saying, I don't think we're really in a quote unquote World War III right now. I think we will continue to see conflict escalate, but in a localized fashion. Therefore, if you are in the Middle East, get out, do yourself a favor, leave behind your influencer soulless hellscape in the middle of nowhere of Dubai. Be a real person, get out of this cartoon, and go live your fucking life. Because that's probably the only place in that entire area where people are like getting paid by the government to shill the idea of safety. And it's fucking weird. Watching like grown men make ad videos with their selfie camera on, trying to convince you how safe another country is. It's like cuck vibes. I've never seen that level of simping in my whole life for any nation on this earth. That's how I know it's paid. It's paid for. Sad. But getting back to this, a lot of this decode is dedicated to breaking down the symbolism. All of this symbolism. Did go a little bit into the sports. A lot of people want to know about that stuff, even though that's not my expertise, that's not my focus. Some really wild connections here with the number 13. 13 is a very powerful number for this year. Keep this in mind. You're going to see a lot of 13 symbolism. Also, 250th anniversary of not just the United States, it's the 250th anniversary of the Bavarian Illuminati. So keep that in mind. Lots of sixes, but we break down the meaning behind all of this. It is not evil, it's the number of life. It's the number of carbon, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, 6 protons. And then this is a wild connection. Absolutely crazy. This 2029 stuff, I actually broke out and did a very like detailed segment into how I feel that all the stuff that we got from the 1984 connections with Stranger Things, The Terminator, and there's probably a bunch of other things that you decoders know about, but it's all pointing to 2029. And this Terminator movie is wild, bro. Like the combo between Terminator and Stranger Things and The Matrix, it's like a big documentary. It's a documentary series. But yeah, so this decode is available. I'm gonna switch back to the charts. That decode is available now over at watersabove or patreon.com/watersabove. You could go check it out if you'd like. It's included in the membership, so just that one decode alone is worth pretty much the entire membership for a year. Let me get back to these charts. I'm also seeing silver is looking quite spicy today, and it's making me want to quickly check that out because this was something that we talked about in the last two Red Pill podcasts. And I even got on a interview yesterday with Bearable Bull. I'm not sure if he's going to post that today or tomorrow, but I called this out during that interview that I did with him, and I was saying that we got to be careful with silver around this level here. It's a very typical rejection at the golden pocket. So I want to start here actually, and then I'll pivot over to the Eclipse chart, and then I'll get into some of your questions. And if anyone left any super chats or whatever, I'll get to those very soon. No worries. But I feel like starting here is great. So we had silver absolute crazy parabolic advance up to the $120 level. This to me is telling us what XRP will do in the future, by the way. So anyone who's into XRP, this is giving you the this is the crystal ball. This is XRP's crystal ball. People are going to call me crazy. They've called me crazy many times. I'm used to it. It's like my favorite nickname. Keep calling me crazy. I'm sticking to this chart over here. This is the most glorious setup of all time for XRP. I'm not going to change my mind on this until something makes me change my mind. And so far, this is playing out perfectly. So, this silver play, though, we got insanely overbought, right? That's undeniable. And this move alone, I think, was something like $10 trillion of market cap between silver and gold in a single trading day. That's historic. I don't even know what that number would be if you went ahead and counted copper, platinum, palladium. Um, yeah, so maybe somebody in the chat could give me that number. What was the total correction or the total amount of market cap that went away from the metals market on that date? Was it the 30th of January? Crazy. So when you see a move like this after this type of rally, we're looking at the hourly chart. When you see this type of run up and then it peaking and then having this smash down, that's almost certainly a macro top. Now, I'm not saying that silver in the future can't go higher than 120, but what I'm letting you know is this type of move and the setup into it is a textbook top. All right. And now, if this type of asset wouldn't have done this in the past, I would feel a little bit different about what I'm saying to you. But because this asset has done this exact move many times in its what 80-year chart history, and by the way, the macro breakout took almost 50 years for it to be in price discovery. It's not weird for silver to do this type of move. So this breakout style followed by the smash down, followed by this very quick rally back up and then lower low. This setup to me feels like a macro top. So I'm pretty confident that at least in 2026, this should be it for silver. Is that a bad thing? No. Can silver go higher in the future? Absolutely. I think silver will hit probably $250, either leading into the Shemitah year or during the Shemitah year. So for those who are unaware, the Shemitah year will be 2028, starting in Rosh Hashanah. This is another thing that I hear influencers now in the crypto space talking about for the first time, but this has been pretty much the main theme of the channel going back to its start. Shout out to Coach JV, by the way, and the 3T Warrior Academy for having me on for the probably like the first big channel to ever allow me on their show. And I talked about the Shemitah in 2021 when we were approaching the Shemitah year. We weren't even there yet, and I was telling him and his community to watch out for this. I just want to take a quick trip down memory lane because now I'm starting to see a lot of people talk about the Shemitah year, and I'm like, yikes, where are they getting this shit from? But we had this move over here. I'm not sure when me and Coach JV connected. Maybe it was the summertime of 2021. A lot of people remember I was publicly talking about selling all over here. It was a rough time to be a crypto TA YouTube channel because talking about selling XRP at levels below all-time highs, it's not sexy. It doesn't make people happy, but I was pretty confident that that was the rally, the best it would get. That's all documented, so we don't even need to talk about that. But JV and I connected sometime around here, I think in June, and I gave a big warning about September 7th, 2021. And I said, this is the start of the Shemitah year, and you need to pay attention to that. And crazy enough, we had a major correction during Eclipse season in 2021, and then we rallied back up to the day of the Shemitah year, Rosh Hashanah. And then that was the highest that XRP went for the rest of the cycle. It took until we finally broke out after the selection. So there's something that everyone here who is into XRP needs to be aware of, which is what is running XRP is not the Gregorian calendar. It is the Hebrew calendar. Do you want me to say it a little louder for the people in the back? This is a Jewish project. I'm not being, this is not judgmental. This is not anti-Semitism. This is just the facts. This project is a Jewish project. It runs on the Hebrew calendar. There's symbolism of the X. It's tied to the Tefillin. All of the black and white symbolism. You can't come up with a more, yeah, it just is what it is. So you got to pay attention to the Hebrew calendar. And that's why you're here at Waters Above, because I do that for you, and we teach this. And that moment right there taught me everything about what really runs XRP. Also, the numbers tied to XRP were so perfectly tied to important numbers in Kabbalah and obviously gematria and numerology. And you know who created, well, not created, but the term gematria comes from, it's a Hebrew word, right? It means geometry. But I want to stay on track here. I did promise you guys that I would explain this, but there's just so much to talk about. It's been a while since I've just like free flowed with the charts. And I think we were talking about silver. This is a textbook rejection. It's a dead cat bounce setup. I don't hope that it goes lower, but as a technical analyst, I think it will. I think this is unfortunately going to go probably down to $50 again. And the reason why is because when you zoom out and you turn off all the noise, you have thin air down to like the 40s. So we're looking at a 2-week chart right now. That's where you get a cluster of trading is in the mid 30s, around $33, around $35. That's not good. When you have that type of move up and how oversold that it got, how overbought that it got, looking at like 94 on the bi-weekly RSI. This is very, very overheated. On an asset that you could barely sell in bulk, by the way. We've already heard the stories of people trying to sell 6 figures worth of silver. It's nearly impossible People are responding back saying, "We'll take it for 30% off. We'll take it for 25% off." Sure, in small amounts, you might be able to get away with selling it at spot price if you're lucky. And then if you live in like a country that's in shambles, some like third world, of course they'll buy it much higher price. But for the average person that's high net worth, you're not going to be selling $100 silver. Like it's not happening. And if it is, it's paper. You're selling paper silver, which is funny that a lot of people that were talking about this rally up started saying that this big crash right here was the paper silver market, quote unquote paper silver. So it's not leverage on the way up. It's not derivatives on the way up, right? It always has to be on the way down. It's like the cult of this thing is classic, and it's a very scary thing to see. So I only say that because there was real profit taking opportunities up here all throughout this run, and there still is right now. So I'm not telling everyone to go sell their silver, but this is not a bullish setup for me, in my opinion. I mean, at best, maybe we drag out to fill this wick around 60, perhaps we hold 60. But even then, I mean, we're just at the start of the breakout at that point. And the unfortunate piece about hitting 60 on silver is we might chop between 55 and 70 for the next year. To, this does not mean it just goes to 60 and then it bounces up and it's all fun again. This asset is known for having very arduous sideways consolidating ranges. So be careful. This looks like a blow off top. Gold, on the other hand, I don't feel the same way about. Gold, I feel this is just getting started. It has much, much higher to go. We can see silver correct back to 50, and we could still see gold hold the 4,500, 4,600 range, and then just build from that base. I know that sounds weird, but they're not the same. They're just not. And the type of people that invest in either of them are also not the same. Ultra wealthy people are into gold, they're not into silver. Silver is an opportunity for the average man to get involved, but they also make it insanely hard for those people to de-risk it or to sell it. And then obviously it's way more manipulated than gold is. So clearly controlled to keep the everyday man um on the wrong side of the trade. I don't want to spend too much time though talking about precious metals. Let me get through this chat. Shane says gold is hitting 67K for sure. Maybe not this year, but yes, in the Shemitah year for sure. I think in 2028 it will. People that think that precious metals are scarce, you need to wake up. Like, I'm sorry. Who tells you they're scarce? Who tells you that there is some supply that's no longer available? Do I need to teach you this? Or can you connect the dots? I think by just me framing the question back at you that way, you could connect the dots for yourself. These are the same people that ran a campaign saying diamonds are forever, and they tried selling you on one of the most abundant, not rare minerals called diamonds. It's just fucking carbon. And yes, they serve as a they're great as like drill tips. Sure. There's also other very strong things, but if you want to drill tunnels, then great. Diamonds are awesome. But if it comes to you buying them to put them on rings because you believe that there's something of value there, you've just been scammed. The whole diamond industry is fake. It's all controlled by one particular mindset called Zionism. The same people that created usury, the same people that created the Federal Reserve System, the same people that are bombing out countries who don't want to abide by the incoming system, which is a blockchain based economy. I call it the Aquarian economy. We're at the 40-minute mark, so we could get really spicy. Mark, Donut, who, by the way, shout out to Donut, he heard about the Shemitah from an interview with me. And shout out to Donut. I hope he's doing well. It's been a while since I've spoke with him. You said, I wonder if XRP is going to drop below a dollar again. It's possible, but the time that it would spend around a dollar would be short-lived, in my opinion. I think most of the correction is out of the way for XRP, and let me quickly explain to you why. And by the way, I am not paid by XRPs or, Ripple. I'm not paid by any of these people. I will never take a dollar from any of these people. So when you hear me talking about them, it's purely because I find the investment a above average IQ investment for the Aquarian economy. That's probably my best way of stating it. But I know who's behind XRP. It's the same people who are behind Bitcoin. It's the same people who are behind everything in our world. So I find it hilarious when I see this like royal rumble between people like Team Cardano and Team Ripple or the Bitcoin maxis or whatever. It's like, stop falling for cults. Shout out to the video that I made 5 years ago on this day where I basically I left a comment in my own video that said, "Stop falling for cults." So everyone knows I'm a real one since day one. I wanted to get into XRP really quickly, though. The reason why I think that this correction is mostly over, it has to do with the timing of things. So if you look over here, this is June 2022, right there. And that was the bottom, June 2022. Okay, pay attention. Summer 2022. This is November of 2022. Bitcoin was much lower at this point, not significantly lower, but for the fact that it's Bitcoin and it's quite a big market cap, it was noticeably different. But earlier in the year, in June 2022, XRP bottomed. Now, let me show you why I think we're experiencing something similar. It has to do with the lunar cycle that we're in. Here is June of 2022. Of course, we had this major drop. And then after that, we had a move from, the peak, the tail bottom was around 17, 18K. We popped up to around 19, 20K, and then we sank down to about 15K. But over here, we had not only XRP bottomed, but we also had Ethereum bottomed, also Dogecoin bottomed. Bitcoin went lower. The thing here is that we've made it to the third lunar eclipse in the lunar cycle, not necessarily the final lunar eclipse of the lunar cycle, but lately we have made it to the final lunar eclipse of the lunar cycle, and we're seeing the same oversold chart, not only in Bitcoin, but also in XRP that we did back in May, June over here. So there's a lot aligning for me to say that XRP should have bottomed, and the lowest it's gone here back in February, was it February 5th? That should technically be it. Now, one thing to mention though is the next 3 weeks are very, very important. I have it written right here. I say BTC cycle bottom 5 to 6 weeks before or 2 to 3 weeks after the final lunar eclipse of the lunar cycle. So for everyone who's listening right now, today is the final lunar eclipse of the lunar cycle, the 3/3 Purim eclipse. That means 2 to 3 weeks from now, we still have a potential to go lower. The question is, will we go lower than where we've already went? We don't need to. We don't need to. That would also be the most elusive bear market, just like the bull run we had for everything this cycle was the most elusive bull run. No alt season, no dramatic breakdown in Bitcoin dominance. We also saw stablecoin just perpetually doing, the whole market has changed ever since these fucking elites have sunk their talons into it. And I don't speak that way to complain. I'm just being honest. It just is what it is. At the end of the day, if you're in the category winners, don't get worried. XRP, Bitcoin, these are category winners. I don't care what the fuck they say about the Epstein shit. This is all smokescreen. The same people that told you that Bitcoin was a scam, not to buy it, the same people that are releasing these files telling you who created it are the same people buying it. That's all. So they need narratives. They've always used narratives, and particularly the narratives are the most concentrated on the mainstream media level with Bitcoin. The only time you get this kind of drama for XRP is from influencers, which is really fucking sad. That's kind of why I've stepped away from the whole game because, like, I don't get how petty it's become. Influencers, lawsuit. It's like weird. It's very weird. So I'm not playing that game. But that what I just stated is a truth. It's mostly just influencers that bring around these narratives about particular altcoin projects, but Bitcoin's Bitcoin. It's on a whole different landscape. And obviously, it's the energy that runs this market. And that's why they're ritualizing it the way they ritualize it. And then when it's at its lows, they hit you with the most, flurry punches. And that's the time where you see whales accumulating the most. So just follow the money, is what I'm trying to say. And there's a relationship between the final lunar eclipse of the lunar cycle and the way that this magic money from the most rich people on the planet seems to flow in. AKA, smart money buys the bottom. But really, what smart money is aware of is astrology. And they use these news articles and all this exoteric nonsense to spellcast the masses and believe it's about something else. So yeah, I'm actually incredibly optimistic about XRP. I think sure it could go lower, it could get to $1, but the question is how long does it trade there? Everything looks quite weak today, but that's normal. Everything looks weak around a lunar eclipse. So keep the next 2 to 3 weeks on your radar. I'll probably come out with another YouTube video, or I'll do a live stream with you guys in a couple. I'm not sure. Again, for those of you that want more frequent updates, patreon.com/watersabove. I do a red pill podcast, full length podcast every single week on Sundays. I fill you in on all the stuff going on with the markets. It's like 30 cents a day. Incredible value, especially compared to my competitors. So other people out there that are in the space charging 3 times more, and most of them don't even do a podcast. So there's a lot of value. You get 4 red pill podcasts a month. I'll be tracking this move, but as for the person's mention in the chat about lower prices, I really don't think we have much lower. And if we do, we're like kind of, I think what would be my best way of saying this? We're just too caught up in the minutia in the grand scheme. That's probably my best way to wrap up that idea. RJ Hibbs, sending lots of love. You said your year of the horse decoded was over the top. Amazing. Thanks for the deep dive. I appreciate you, brother. Sending lots of love. XRP is actually looking insanely strong today. The crypto market is looking insanely strong today for the fact that it's a total lunar eclipse. Craig said, position of Pope is Antichrist. I think that the Silicon Valley AI agentic divine spirit is the Antichrist. I think allowing this agentic AI stuff to get inside of all of your devices, that is the true Antichrist. What people call Antichrist. That's what I call the Antichrist. Angela says, so tired of AI slop. Yeah, I agree with you. Over the years, I've kind of changed a little bit on my feelings about AI because I've realized something that's only come to be in my realizations through communicating with a lot of people around the world, and I'll say this, Angela, and maybe you'll vibe with me, or maybe you won't, I'm not sure. But I am a creative person. I love art. I'm obsessed with art. I love like when I listen to music, some people listen to like the melody line and they hum it, and I'm like listening to the hi-hat on the drums. I'm listening to like the way that the bass player is like just the picking technique. I'm listening to the picking technique of the bass player. I'm listening to the ghost notes of the drummer, hitting the snare drum. Like, I'm a musician, and this is my real passion, right? And I'm aware that a lot of people don't care about that shit. They just don't, and I'm not here to say that you should. I don't think you should. I don't think anyone should. At the end of the day, that's what's beautiful about this world is the fact that we're different. We have something unique to bring to the table, and some people are gonna be more into stuff than others, right? Some people, when they cook, they just look at it like, "Oh, I'm making food," and some people, when they cook, they're, like, looking at every slice of the onion to make sure that it's the perfect thickness so that when they're sautéing it, like, that's a level of mastery that I think we should all strive for in at least one aspect of life. Not cooking, not music, not just you should have that passion about one thing in life. If you can find one thing in life that you really feel drawn to that you could do that with, you're gonna feel like you're living instead of existing. Now that's a very different perspective because a lot of people say, "Do what you love for money," find a way to make a bunch of money and find a way to yeah, money only gets you so far and money only solves money problems. I've met many rich people that have a crazy net worth, but they don't have what I just said. They don't have that. They have no fucking passion about life. They just know how to make money. So you have to ask yourself, like, what do you want out of this thing called your what do you want out of this thing called reality? Do you want to feel alive or do you want to exist? It's your choice. And what I've learned is that when you find one thing that you could be insanely passionate about and you feel like you're part of the process where you're so embedded into the process that the outcome doesn't even matter, that's where you have this feeling of success as opposed to the on paper success. AI eliminates that possibility for the human how do I say this? Because I don't want to sound like an asshole. But, like, let's just be real here, like, AI kind of eliminates that possibility, and I worry about humanity for that. Like, people now, quote, unquote, "make AI art" or AI music or AI movies or AI whatever, AI content, and they have no process, and the process is now all about the prompt. It's all about how will you tell AI to do the thing for you. I don't know if that's the world that I personally wanna be stuck in. But the people who run the world, the technocrats, they do. They want you to live a life where essentially all of your prana, all of your life force energy goes into fucking prompting shit. So you have no process. That to me is slippery slope, you know? But what's changed my mind over the years is I've met people that have that thing that they're super fucking passionate about. Like they absolutely are one with that thing. And then they use AI in other ways to just support or supplement, a lack of competence in another particular, subject matter, and that's awesome, right? Like, I think in that way, that's great. If you can find a way to utilize AI so it's just supporting and making another thing in your life perhaps more convenient or whatever, great. Just don't make your whole existence about replacing everything you do with an AI. That is gonna create a vortex of hell. That would be called living in hell. So avoid that. Not gonna lie, 138 says Zionism is just global capitalism. No, sorry. Um, it's not. Zionism is a belief system that if you are not them, you are goyim. So you are effectively a roach. You're a rat. You're nothing. You're a slave. You can be abused, lied to, murdered, tortured, whatever, and it's not committing any crime that could be judged by God. You want me to say it again? Zionism is this belief system. It is not Jewish, it is not Muslim, it is not Christian, it's not Scientology, it's not it's that it could be existing in all of those people. That's why I think my work might be a little bit more revolutionary in that way because I'm trying to separate it from being attached on solely to the Jews because it's not. There are a lot of Christians out there that believe that their God is the one and only God, their version of it, and everyone else who isn't following their particular doctrine, therefore, will burn in hell and etc., etc. Now, that might not be what you believe. That might not be what 100% of the people who are tuning into this believes, but Zionists believe what I just said. They believe that they are the chosen people and that if you are not them, you are goyim, and they're allowed to do whatever they want to you. And yes, you are right regarding the global capitalism. We could call this usury. That's something the world needs to wake up to. It's not just taxes, it's so much more than that. It's the loan system. Man, I mean, we have to go deep. I don't know if we would waste too much time there or if that would be something that you guys care about. I'm not sure. Let me go through this. Zionism is to Jews and Nazis are to Germans. First of all, the Germans never called themselves Nazis. They called themselves National Socialists. And most Jews do not call themselves Zionists. The Hasidic Jews, Hasidim, don't call themselves Zionists. Literally. Have you ever been to a Hasidic community? Go up and ask them, how do you feel about what Israel is doing? And they will literally denounce it. They will say what Israel is doing is wrong. It is not following Judaism. It is not following our commandments, our Torah, etc. So no, I don't agree with that. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of unlearning that's necessary here. No offense, but I think guys, this is my sport. This is what I do. I'm a professional in this in this conversation. So what I'm speaking is not based in emotion. It's not based in convince. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to get you to believe I'm telling you the truth. I don't give a fuck if you think I'm telling you the truth. What I'm stating here in these lives, what I'm stating in my art is because I know what I'm talking about. If I get a question and I don't know the answer to it, I have no idea, I'll say I don't know. But this conversation, I know about. Official market report says Talmud be having some crazy absolutely. And I've read sections of the Talmud here during live streams. It's fucking wild. There's some stuff inside of this that, my God, I don't even know if evil is the word. Wild. Alexander the Based, agreed. That's a big point of what I was saying earlier. All right. Moving on. I see that this has caused a lot of let's keep going. Are you not hearing any background music? It might be because it's so low. I didn't want to make it I didn't want to make it overpowering and then it would get annoying. I just wanted it to kind of be there in the background. Guys, I could check out some charts. I haven't seen any questions. I haven't seen I'm looking through the chat right now. Soundwave Coffee asks, "Are you gonna have trading bots on the new platform?" No, but there's a world in which I do wanna connect with people who know about this stuff. I've reached out to a couple of people since, but I haven't, had the time to really dedicate to that. I am, and I'll say this out loud because it's my favorite form of manifestation. I am looking for, maybe 1 or 2 people for the new platform that we're launching to kind of be the ones that share their charts, technical analysis, and like the people that are really passionate about that. It's not because I am not passionate, it's because I am trying to do more with like what we're doing with the platform than just only stick with crypto stuff and investing and charts. So this is part of my evolution. It's been a long time coming. I've honestly it's obvious that I've not been fully only about crypto and charting. I've created the Expander Mastermind course like when the end of 2022. So this has always been a channel more about consciousness expansion, about mindset coaching, about holistic lifestyle, all of that stuff, health and wellness. It's not only just spirituality. So I want to focus on what I feel I'm the most useful with, which is communicating with people and all of those other subject matters. And although I do have the talent or the skill of knowing how to decode markets and do TA, I would love to find people where like they're giving 110% of their passion to that solely. Like if there's anyone out there in our community where that's your thing, where you just live, breathe, eat, sleep charts and TA and trading and all of that, that's something that I would love to connect with people about more than trading bots. Because there's opportunities here in our platform that's going to launch soon that would be perfect for those people. So I would just love to have like a dedicated person or team of 2 people that wanna talk charts, do TA, do crypto charting live streams, whatever. And then I could even chop it up with you here and there, maybe once a month or something. We could do like a group coaching call meeting and just chat about, the thesis for the month ahead. And I think it would be a really cool project to move forward with. Expanding and giving more people opportunities who are passionate about that. I forgot I made this statement earlier. Basilius says, "I'll grade your Cajun accent. I'm from Louisiana." I'm horrible with accents, but like I feel like I wish I had that ability to just break out a Cajun accent. That's like my favorite. I love that. I love that deep South. I love that deep South accent. It's my favorite. All right, I'm catching up with the chat. Damn, so many comments. We got 1,200 people hanging out with us. Crypto Wisdom Workshop. You said I'm enrolled in one of your courses in Udemy. I don't have a Udemy, so I think you're confusing me with somebody else. Yeah, you might be confusing me with somebody else. Well, you definitely are. But yeah, I don't have a Udemy. My courses are only available at watersabove.com. I don't use any third-party platform. Master Your Reality 33, sending you lots of love. I hope you're doing amazing, brother. I appreciate you. Got a question about WorldCoin. I just reviewed that recently in a red pill, and I have to admit it's not the most promising looking setup in my opinion. So we're looking at WorldCoin right now. I did cover this, maybe was it the latest red pill or was it 2 red pills ago? I don't remember. Maybe somebody in our mastermind community can remind me, but by the way, in our red pill podcast that we do every week, our community votes on the projects that I review. So we have about 4 to 5 different altcoins every single week. So that's another really valuable thing about your membership over there. Not only will you see me covering new projects every single week, you also get a new decode every single week. And then I had my big year of the horse decode for the year 2026 that was just released, 2-hour presentation, crazy value. So definitely check that out, patreon.com/watersabove. And I'll have another one coming out on next Sunday, but I just released a new one a couple days ago. Absolutely epic because we talked about this Mercury retrograde and I taught everyone in our community a couple of weeks in advance, maybe even 3 weeks in advance, to expect the 4th day of Mercury retrograde to be a pump, and then the 5th day of Mercury retrograde usually get rejected up till maybe the 7th day most, but it's that window that we have like a false pump into excuse me, into Mercury retrograde, and it was textbook, like literally unbelievable play. Let me show you really quickly, and then we'll get to WorldCoin, but it's just something that's on the top of my mind right now. There's this pattern. You see it over here. I'm going to count day 4. So this red box is the start of Mercury retrograde. Behind it is Venus retrograde, but you can see day 4, we have this big pump up. Day 4, local top, sideways. Day 4, look at that, dude. Crazy. Fucking 12% candle on day 4. It's unbelievable. This one may be a little more extended. Day 7, also very typical. It's 4 to 7 days, but usually by day 4, we start to see the magic happen. It's probably day 7. Yep, right on the money. Crazy. Day 6, crazy green candle. Day 5, that one was would be great if we had something like that again, but you get the point. Day 5, even here. Day 5. Day 5. It's fucking crazy, right? Day 5. There's a couple outliers, but we're talking 70% of the time this happens. And this might be day 3. Nope, day 4 on the money. But anyways, that's what just happened. Same. Day 4. And it would be great if we had a reverse of what happened the last Mercury retrograde, but you got to remember there was a much different setup. This Mercury retrograde over here, we had a second lunar eclipse of our lunar cycle that we've passed through, and Bitcoin wasn't really making any new uh, highs. So anything that was pushing it up into a quote unquote quote new all-time high was short-lived, mostly leverage, and we all, we know the rest now. But let's get back to WorldCoin. Just wanted to say that Mercury retrograde is pretty much going according to plan, how it does 70% of the time. WorldCoin, I need to be very honest about. This is in price discovery to the downside. So we, of course, can talk TA, but we're basically in uncharted territory here. This is filling a wick from launch, this first day candle. And once it broke this 56, 57 cent region, this is a dangerous move right there where we dropped lower, came back up to it, got rejected, and then sunk. So this wick right here from October 10th, it's getting filled, but then also there's no volume traded in these current prices. Therefore, it could just continue to get sold off more and more and more. There's nothing stopping it from going to zero. So this will be probably a slow bleed until alts get a rotation. When we get an alt rotation, then this will pop up like everything pops up. But as for any TA, there is no TA because there's no chart history on the past, and essentially it's already in price discovery to the downside. So pure honesty, it's a guessing game right now of where this can stop. because there's no bottom. It broke a level that it was once attempting to confirm a support on, but even then, that's not really something to be happy about because we have that pivot low over here, we have the obvious high, and then breaking that level over there proved that this was weak. So you could have proven this chart was weak on this break over here below $1.10. This really cements the truth of it being weak. This bounce right here is nice, but again, it's just a typical bounce that we see with alts. Nothing too special because you can only trade these things to make money. There's no hodl opportunities. There's no holding opportunities with this type of stuff. You just have to actively trade it. Ooh, I have something to say to this that I think will change the perspective a little bit. Not that I want to. Not that I have any aim to change the way you feel, but I don't think this is true. They do want you all to get rich. Take it slow with me. Think through this with me. We're going to start turning up the heat in the sauna a little bit. It's getting a little hotter in here. They do want you all to get rich. You want to know why? Because there's a big difference between getting rich and getting wealthy. The more rich you become, the more willing or the more you are likely to buy more liabilities. The more in the beast system you will the more integrated into the beast system you'll become. Just look at it with athletes, look at it with celebrities. When they get their first taste of money, what do they all do? They start buying a bunch of useless shit that they don't even actually value, only the culture values. They don't. They start buying nice cars, crazy houses, watches, whatever, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things. But there's a big difference between being rich and being wealthy. They actually want everyone to be rich because the more money you have, the more useless dog shit you'll consume. Getting wealthy, on the other hand, is insanely difficult. To get wealthy requires an insane sacrifice. You have to take on a commitment to knowledge, to really understanding stuff. Whilst getting rich could be a very lucky thing for a lot of people, or it could be purely because you're entertaining or you're good looking or you have some sort of skill. There's plenty of people that are the best at a sport, considered to be very skillful, but they're in bankruptcy 1 year into retirement. Therefore, getting rich was the worst thing to ever happen to them because they had their moment of shine. But then after that, their legacy, like their kids are now not even going to be able to enjoy the fruits of that labor because they were bad at handling money. But they got very rich in the process of leveraging on their skill or their talents or their gifts or whatever you want to call it. It's very different. They do want everyone to become rich because you can get rich and then drain it all away in the gambling casino. There's plenty of people that got crypto rich in 2021 and they've lost it all since. Rich is a moment. It's a blink of an eye, Adrian. Wealth is beyond your lifetime. It is generational. It gets carried on. You have so much abundance that you can't even spend it in your lifetime, even if you tried. Also, you have a behavior and a personality and a level of consciousness where you wouldn't even care to leak all of that money and all of these liabilities. You learn how to make money work for you instead of your skills and talent working for you. That's the difference. They do want us all to be rich. And they expect us all to never put in the work to become wealthy because that would require a lot of effort. Rich, on the other hand, plenty of people get rich. People get rich in the lottery. That means a lot to me. I appreciate you. Sending lots of love. Tony Rain is multitasking. He said I'm slicing onions right now. That's beautiful. My love said, "For me, it's studying and teaching the word passion." Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you're passionate about. Wise Am says the dude is funny. The chill Gary V. You know what's quite different about me and Gary V is Gary V started his process inheriting his father's uh, alcohol store. My father was a drug addict who was in jail most of my childhood. So and me and him are quite different, actually. I had no help with this thing called consciousness and gnosis and my business models and everything that I've done. Never had that. There was no nepotism that I could have leveraged on. But I suppose there's things in here that I could take as a compliment. Although me and him have very different starting points. Oh yeah, this is funny that you brought this up. JPT brought up the trident symbolism because I was just talking about WorldCoin, and WorldCoin also has. Okay, so this must have been this recent weekend that I talked about WorldCoin. But anyways, I'm going to read this comment real quick. He says, "You mentioned trident in your decode and compare that to the euro currency. As we are aware, Ukraine has that symbol too. What's behind the symbol is exact meaning. Best thanks." Okay, so the trident symbolism. Let me pull this up real quick. I'll pull it up with the Ukraine flag because that might be the easiest way. It's not the standard flag, by the way, but 1 second, family. You're talking about the trident and this symbolism here. So a lot of this comes down to the Piscean age. So, as many of you are well aware, we're in the Piscean age, kind of co-ruled by both Neptune slash Poseidon and Jupiter, also known as Zeus. So this is very much the upside down, what you're seeing. You're seeing sun symbolism, yellow symbol below, and you're seeing the blue above. So this is inverted symbolism. We see the same thing with the rainbow. Um, the rainbow is the inverted chakra system, right? So you get inversion here. Think about that. We have the gold at the bottom, symbolic of sun. We have the blue at the top, symbolic of the waters. But this is not symbolic of the waters above. This is symbolic of the Neptunian Poseidon slash Piscean concept. And then you obviously have the trident symbolism here as well. So there's a kind of a lot going on here, even though it's a very basic flag. But to get to the concept that I was sharing about WorldCoin and the euro and the trident symbolism, it's just the euro is the sideways um, trident, right? So this is tied to this year in particular because in mythology, remember, guys, we're in the Chinese year of the horse, and in mythology, the horse was created by Poseidon. It was created by Neptune. The idea here is that it's tied back to the body. Okay. So I want everyone, when you're learning about esoterica, you can't just be focused on astrology. You can't just be focused about what's happening in the stars and the constellations. All right. You have to realize that everything is tied back to anatomy. So the horse inside of all of us is the hippocampus, the seahorse, literally hippocampi. Okay. So this is tied to memory, converting short-term memory into long-term memory, pattern recognition. Those are probably the most important components. There's many others, but it's tied to that. And then when you go through the mythology, you'll understand why the naming system, the nomenclature we have for anatomy is also tied back to the Greek Roman uh, worldview, if you will. So it's very fascinating. It's very fascinating how all of that is what makes the world that we live in right now, from the flags that we see, the symbolism we see, the architecture that surrounds us, the calendrical systems that we operate under, and even the naming system of the stars in our body, the anatomy. All of the naming systems come back to this. So I hope that gives you what you were looking for, but it has very much a lot to do with an inversion, moving from this old age to the new age. But the trident symbolism in general ties back also to the Trinity. The real Trinity is not Father, Son, Holy Ghost. The real Trinity is Father, Mother, Child. Okay? That's how all life comes to be in this matrix. Father, Mother, Child. That might bother some of the people that are into raw religion, but you have to understand that this raw religion was hijacked and all of the symbolism remains the same. It's all interconnected. It all goes back to Canaanite, Babylonian, Sumerian time. So once you learn one system, if you study the Egyptian system, for example, you'll start to understand all the others. And the newest system that we work with is the one that we're operating under. And that was from the Greco-Roman scam. All roads lead to Rome, as they say. One second. Get back to the charts. All roads lead to Romulus. All right. Chart should be up. D Dawn said my daughter was talking to me and I missed it. Who slash what is the true Antichrist? I think what your daughter was telling you is probably 100 times more important than anything I could ever say. So it's good. She interrupted you for a reason. Always give your utmost attention to your kids. They matter the most. But yeah, I was talking about how the AI God will be. That is the real Antichrist. All this transhumanist weird shit that's coming. Yeah, Edward McKenzie says, crazy how Iran burned a statue of Baal and then they got bombed. Bro, don't burn. You gotta don't fuck with them, bro. That's crazy. What I don't know what you're talking about, Ed. Is this real? Where would Iran have a statue of Baal? See, guys, I am like Patrick Starr living under a rock. I always admit when I have no clue. But yeah, bro, you can't be burning a statue of Baal and then not expect Daddy Zion to show up. That's wild. Fill me in, chat. Fill me in. 2 trades. Lots of love. I appreciate you, bro. Hope you're doing well. Shout out to Brooklyn. That's my old stomping ground. It's so funny. I grew up in Brooklyn and I didn't grow up in a religion. My mom, my family, they didn't practice one. I didn't have a religion growing there was nothing really religious about my upbringing at all. But I remember the first time I saw any Hasidic Jews when I lived in Brooklyn. There's a whole section that they live in, like Crown Heights. There's a couple of sections, obviously, but this is a massive, massive Jewish community. And I remember growing up and being like, "Yo, what are these people about? Like, what?" I was always curious. I was always curious, like, what are they about? And then it's funny because I moved to Jersey at one point, and I lived maybe like 40 minutes away from a town called Lakewood. Some of you might know Lakewood, and they are like the same, like a whole area, Jewish area. And I didn't have a lot of money growing up. I didn't have a lot of, I wasn't anyways, I don't fucking wanna talk about that. The point that I'm getting to is I just remember sometimes going to Lakewood, to get, like, groceries and shit because it was super cheap. Like, I thought that was fascinating too as I grew up. I'm like, "Damn, bro, these Jewish neighborhoods, they're, like, kinda taking care of each other." They're like, the prices are down on stuff, like, it's super fascinating. Then you start to learn about all of the stuff involved in it, you know? And I'm not gonna go there because it is an in-depth, you have to, like, really do your research and understand it. But in a lot of ways, I've always thought, why don't we do similar shit? Like, why don't conscious people create our own, like, systems and take care of each other and not do it in, like, a scammy, weird, culty way. Just, like, remove all the culty weird shit and be real people who invite all of each other's art forms and all of each other's, like, takes on this reality and our personalities, etcetera. 'Cause, the most fucked up thing about this matrix is cults, in my opinion. Luckily enough, before I started Waters Above, I put a lot of time into studying cults because I was always fascinated about how people had such weak spirits, how people had such weak minds and their egos were so shattered and it made them susceptible to falling into this like belief vortex, where their own personality was no longer a part of their beingness anymore. They took on group belief identity, like groupthink identity. It's always fascinating me, and I put a lot of time into studying it. And now that I'm in this position where I get to like talk with the whole world and I get to make so many connections, like I love how what we're doing here attracts so many different walks of life. Yeah, I even find it fascinating that there's like people that are Israeli that are Patreon supporters of mine. Like all the shit that I say about Zionism, and then they're still like showing up, they're showing love, they're supporting, they're sharing their truth. They're not hiding behind anything. They're not associating with the cult of Zionism. And it's dope. Like I love that about what we're doing here at Waters Above, how we have people that are like only listen to hip hop music and like they're a completely different culture in that way. Then we have people that are from Japan that are businessmen. We even have people from Ukraine in our community. We have people from Iran in our community. We have people from Israel. I love it. I love how eclectic it all is. And then I ask myself, I'm like, why the fuck don't we copy that shit that they're doing to make their society sustainable? And they're not worried about all this other shit that's going on, except for obviously there's the uh what do you like how do I say it? I guess they do very much feel threatened about what's going on in Israel because everybody who feels their way about Netanyahu or Israel reflects right back to them. Even though the Hasidim they do not follow what Israel is doing and they believe it's evil. It's kind of weird. I'm just like on a mini stream of consciousness right now, curious as to why there's no conscious communities out there that do this whole thing called community on a real person to person basis without it being some weird cult. Like, why can't that be a possibility? It must be a possibility. I just haven't seen it. Because every time we get close to seeing it, it's some like weird, like it's like crystals everywhere and shit. And they're doing like group yoga sessions and tantra and like one style of music only. Like Jesus, fucking be into everything. Why does it always have to be like one type of music? Boring. Yeah, I'm probably going off the rails here, but I know what I'm speaking will inspire people because you got to just unfilter share your thoughts and the right people will gravitate towards you. So I know like whatever I'm building, whatever I'm creating, it's going to bring all walks of life into our world and I love that. To me that's the best. Rain Man says, I agree with what you're saying, but doesn't the average Jew study the Torah and the Talmud for obvious reasons? Isn't the Talmud antithetical to me as a Goyim? Therefore, any Jew who studies the Talmud hates me. Um, I don't think all Jews study the Talmud. I don't think most, yeah, no. I don't even think a lot of Jews actually even look into the Torah. Like, yes, there's like ones that pay attention to the religion and they give a lot of prana to that, but I don't know if that's the majority. I think that's that's the minority. Mm, we got to be careful there because that's an assumption. I only know what I've seen, what I've experienced. I've never been born in one of these communities, but they seem to be the minority versus like the idea we call Judaism, you know? There's not many that actually have ever read the Torah or the Talmud, yet they still identify as Jewish. Ada Beaver, this is a good question. You said, "Do you feel the Zionists are gonna push the Christian Reich on the collective?" No. They're gonna push Oh, I don't wanna say it. Oh, damn. How do I say it? I can't gatekeep, so just give me a minute to to get my bearings straight. Miguel de Jesus, sending you lots of love, brother. I appreciate you. The thing they're trying to push on humanity regarding religion is Muslim. That's what they want. This is why all the famous influencers and streamers, they're all that. They're all preaching that. Which by the way, I have no problem with. I waters above have no problems with any religions or any cults. Just leave the fucking children alone, please. Please. Can we all do that? Can we leave the children alone? Thank you very much. And beyond that, keep your cult in your little world and enjoy your life. Who fucking cares? I sure as hell don't. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to keep building. I'm building my kingdom. I'm not concerning myself with the plan of the apex predator. I mean, of course, I'll filter in and understand it to the best of my abilities to be able to share my truth on it and hopefully help us refine our navigational system to get through the fucking New World Order's plans. But ultimately, like, it doesn't slow me down, doesn't hold me back from the thing that I'm planning on doing. Sam Martyr said these talking parts points are far more interesting than the charts. I agree. That's why nobody's asking any questions about the charts. Like I wanted to do a chart and hang consciousness hangout and like it's just no. All right, all right. Let me I have to really try hard to find questions about the charts. It's like clearly my community does not give a fuck. Let's look at H bar. It's like nobody fucking cares about this shit. They're just like, let's talk about life, bro. I love you guys. I fucking love you guys. You're all legends. H bar looks like a nice setup. I think this wait, let me make sure that you could see this. So Rex Banner asked about H bar. Yep, looks like the chart is crystal clear. So H bar had a textbook move like XRP did in the last cycle. Let me quickly show you, but you can see the fib pull. We have the swing high of the 2021 alt season down to the swing low of the Q4 bear market in 2022. And then we had this rapid move up straight into the golden pocket, almost hit the 888 fib, but didn't quite make it. And then we chopped around lower high right under the 786. And then the October 10th inside job started to show the cracks. That's pretty much every project dealt with that. But this particular setup in the macro, when you're looking at from prior bull run buying climax to what this is right here, we're going to identify this as a macro automatic rally. So just remember what I said about XRP, and now let me show you. XRP did this move in the last cycle. And there's a lot of connections here into why these charts do these things in different cycles. So you see you have the all-time high of 2018, you have the selling climax of March 2020, the C19 crash, and then you have this move up right here. And then you get rejected, and that was as good as it got. Let me show you. So we have the macro fib pull, and we have barely hitting the 888 rejection after a little bit of chop in the golden pocket. It's almost the same setup, man. Let me dual screen these charts so you can see what I mean. Also, I hope you're all having an amazing eclipse. I know we're getting spicy here, but that's what we're do. That's what we do, bro. Like that's what makes us us. If you want some normie ass fucking crypto news regurgitated bullshit, then there's a million options out there for you. Have fun. But your boy Waters hasn't sold his soul to the fucking blockchain god yet, and I do not plan on it. Hence why I'm building my own platform, so I can just do whatever the fuck I want. And the real ones will be hanging out with us, building with us, networking with us, getting wealthy with us. I love the future. All right, you guys see what I'm looking at? I know there's a little bit of noise over here, but all you got to do is focus on that. So we have a major rally up, topped out, major bear market. This actually, for me, it's actually quite reminiscent of this move over here. It's obviously not the same, but it was narrative. It was tied to a narrative, and it was almost necessary to reset the energy of the entire market. So what do I mean by that? We had into this moment right before the selection, right before Trump won, where we were trending down for alts, and a lot of things looked like shit, and it's a classic bear trap, right? But then that event marked the sentiment reset. Although a lot of people aren't, well, our community knows this, but we had a very powerful solar eclipse, a solar eclipse of the solar cycle. So what am I talking about? It's right here. We had a solar eclipse in our solar cycle, which released that energy for us to have that final bullish move up. So that was all it was about. It had really, they give you the exoteric event, but the timing is beautiful. It's always this way, and I have this chart that proves it. This chart, you go back and you'll see always around the second or third solar eclipse of the solar cycle, you start trending up. We saw it right here, and we could even go back more. So you have your third solar eclipse of the solar cycle, up. Third solar eclipse of the solar cycle, up. Third eclipse of the solar cycle, we had a lot of alts actually make a crazy move in between this pivot right here. No matter how you look at it, still continuing up. So I'm comparing this move from 2018 to 2021 as what H bar just did from 2021 to 2025. And we are here. It's almost the same. Dude, it's the fucking same. It's the same. So what does that tell me? This is like buying XRP at 30 cents. Pretty much. It's like pretty much buying XRP. Like, that's not financial advice. You should do your own research. But I feel that this move is essentially the same. Now, there's another thing I could show you. Let me pull up the Dogecoin chart and let me pull up the XRP chart side by side, and you're going to see another comparison, another cyclical comparison. I'm going to put the XRP chart down here. It's going to be a macro one. This is a thing that I discovered probably like 3 years ago at least. Sorry, I got to get a better one because this crazy wick. There you go. So this was the cycle for XRP back in 2013. Oh my God. OG. Yeah, so this is the cycle for XRP back in 2013. And it's just much more accelerated for Dogecoin. But you can see from top this structure over here, matching that structure, this arduous trade down, same, this swoop bowl, same release. And then this section right here is this section, and then you have your blow off top. Now we go into the future, and isn't this so interesting? How when you look at how Dogecoin's cycle just went, it is also the same fucking thing as H bar, the same cycle. It's like magic. I taught people this a long time ago that this chart is like a cousin of the other chart. So I am very bullish on Dogecoin in the future, regardless of the meme shit, regardless of like how anyone will take that, like because I'm just looking at chart structure purely. Dogecoin was late, had one cycle later to do what XRP did back in the day, back between 2014 2017. Doge did that into 2021. Now, what we just watched XRP do in the last cycle, we just watched Dogecoin do this cycle. Same thing happened to XLM, same thing happened to H bar. So now we have to think like, where's the more evolved cycles? Well, we have Bitcoin. I feel that the cycle that we have coming up will be something that you could find in the Bitcoin chart, but I've made it even, I think, more sophisticated by just sharing with you here this setup for the silver and XRP comparison, which a lot of people are clowning on and they don't understand it. They don't realize that these charts are all structural patterns that have played out time and time again. You can surf through an endless list of assets, whether that be forex, commodities, whether that be equities, whatever. Now in crypto, we have several full, quote unquote, full cycles with data that we could utilize for how we'll speculate moving forward. So now that we're at the final lunar eclipse of the lunar cycle as we speak today, damn, bro, I am so optimistic. Like, I'm so excited for having this knowledge because I feel like this is like, holy shit information. We didn't need to waste all of our time learning about the business cycle and all this. They've been shilling this shit now for a long time. I'm not even going to call out the names, but you're filling your head with all of this information to hope that it backs up a thesis, when in reality, this is all based on gematria, numerology, and astrology, and it has been, it will always be. Keep it simple. The same thing with silver. Silver, $47 top, $47 top. Took 47 years to break out from this parabolic move to this parabolic move. Silver is the 47th element in the periodic table. When silver hit $121, it smashed straight down to $74, the mirror of 47. You see, it's all numerology. So having this knowledge, I think, helps us quite a bit to just focus our energy on other stuff in life. Like, of course, if you're brand new to this knowledge, you should learn it. This would probably be like 80% the most helpful information to ever learn if you're into investments. It's way more powerful knowledge than all of this business cycle, M2 money supply, like inflation data, what they're saying at the FOMC, like fucking hypnosis at best. It's a snooze. This shit is fascinating though. This chart is fascinating. how Bitcoin respects these eclipses more than anything. So it's cool that people are waking up to this now, like in a way. But I don't think a lot of people actually understand what it is that they're teaching. These people that are just learning about the eclipses or they're calling it blood moons or whatever, they need they don't have all this background knowledge and understanding of like what creates a solar or a lunar cycle. They only now are catching up to the idea of the lunar eclipses. So, any of those influencers out there that you're trying to teach this stuff, holla at your boy. I could I could actually put you through the real university on esoterica. 001D Cells says, "Bro, what are your plans over the next year or so? Also, I know about them trading bots." LOL. My plans are I've taken the last 10 months of my life to pour all my resources and my time and energy into creating a brand new platform that we're about to launch. You guys can check it out. It's watersabove.app. Quickly pull it up on the screen. We actually have an official website launching soon. It'll be under the same domain, watersabove.app. One second. So this is what I'm going to be focusing on moving forward, building our own platform. It's going to have some really wild new technologies that I'm not sure if the world is ready for yet, but I'm really excited to share. But I'll quickly go through this with you. We have this brand new platform. Mobile app will probably be launching sometime next month. We're not sure if we'll launch them both simultaneously at the same time, but this is one of the major components of the new platform. It's called Portal. Really excited to launch this because pretty much what we did was our research into all of these social media platforms, also like the experiences that we've had with Discord. Discord is great and all. I appreciate Discord for we've been using it here for 5 years for our mastermind community, and it's been great, but it's not the best format for communication. The way that the platform is set up, the same thing with Telegram. And in a lot of ways, we thought through like what could make our communications more valuable, like where there's actually true value and real connections, real genuine connections happening. And we thought through that in every pixel of this new project. So I'm really excited because there's some revolutionary ideas in here, such as the focus badges. You can see right here, this is just an account that we quickly mocked up, but it says hiring is this focus badge. And the idea here is there's going to be a focus badge for hiring, there's going to be a focus badge for coaching, there's one for dating, there's one for making friends. So it's not just all about the idea of showing up on the platform and like you share what you know and or you come here to learn. It's so much more than that. We're actually trying to build a system where no matter where you are in your process, no matter what are the things that you're looking to, put more time and energy into, you'll be able to on this platform. These focus badges are really sick because if you're somebody who's looking to make friends, that'll be shown on your posts. So a lot more people are gonna know like what are you here for? What are you doing? And I really like that component to this project. And then over here you can see it says Denver, Colorado. We've built something called Member Map. So no matter where you are, if you'd like to opt into Member Map, you'll see a directory of all the people in the community. So this is going to push forward people creating real events with real people, hangouts, meetups, and we could do anything. I mean, people could create their own concerts, festivals, whatever, you know? So that's a huge opportunity there with Member Map. We're creating events too inside of the platform as well. So you're going to be able to create events. You can see there's a tab. Oop, sorry. It's kind of popping all around the place, but there's a tab over here called events as well. So we'll be able to make events. Yeah. Oh my God. There's so much to share just about Portal. This is another big part of the project as well, Oasis. You know how, like, when you're talking with people, you have to do these Zoom calls where it's like a boring black screen and all you see is the person's profile picture or you see their webcam and then that's it. It's just this like lifeless purgatory where there's nothing more. And this is an unbelievable project that we created. Shout out to Oliver, someone who's a member of our community, was a member of Waters Above University last year. He is incredibly talented, helped us create is about 15 hyper realistic um, spaces, like they're vistas where you can hang out with people in our community, communicate with microphone or video. So if you want to do webcam, you could webcam with people. And man, it's just so sick. This whole project is unbelievable. I'm really excited to make this to launch this because I think it's gonna make a lot more people have a purpose to get on the internet and connect with people as opposed to just doom scrolling and, getting into arguments on Twitter or whatever. You're going to be able to pop into one of these spaces and chat with like-minded people and make connections. It's going to be really lit. And then archive, it's another important parts of the project because we'll have meetings that we'll be hosting once a week on the new platform. So we're going to be doing something we're calling the clarity key. And that clarity key is going to be very important project moving forward. Like my Red Pill podcast, it's not going to be a podcast necessarily. It's going to be something that's very unique, not just like a group coaching call, not just like one of these live stream hangouts here. It's going to be something where we dial in our focus for the week ahead. We put a lot of energy into solving problems. We'll also be helping entrepreneurs or helping people that are working through something in life and they want to be vulnerable about it. So I'm really stoked for that as well to have that weekly meeting with everyone in our community. It will be live. There's a live chat going on in it, and then there'll also be an opportunity to watch playback too, and that'll be available in archive. There'll also be some other goodies on archive. We're gonna have a bunch of special guests who are specialists in their field. I already have a lineup of like 10, I think like 10 new interviews to do. So I'm really stoked for those to have other specialists hanging out with us, answering questions from our community. Whenever we do any special guest interviews, we always allow you guys to ask questions in advance. So that's really cool too. We've had all different types of people. We've had Coach JV was one of the people that we did last year, special guest. We've had a lawyer slash accountant on talking a lot about tax, crypto tax, business structure, all that. We're going to have somebody who's a specialist in buying businesses coming soon. There's a whole list. May get through looking at the questions. Yo, two trades, reach out to me. Well, there you have it, guys. The Marky P himself has given me financial advice to invest my fortune, my kingdom into Fartcoin. So today's sponsors are Fartcoin, um, Netanyahu's made, Newport cigarettes, um, the McDonald's Shamrock Shake, the Apple Watch, and Fartcoin. Pass the coffee. Yeah, I think H bar is a good opportunity for something that's not like your typical VC play. Like I usually call the VC plays 2 to 3% allocation. For H bar, I would go with 5, maybe even 10, depending on the person, depending on the client that I have. If I was reviewing their portfolio, up to 10 would even be solid in my opinion. James Saunders asks about April. And I agree with this. James, you'll see on the screen it has a little box that says BTC cycle bottom 2 to 3 weeks after, and then it says final lunar eclipse. So today is the total lunar eclipse. 2 to 3 weeks after today, let me just quickly show you what that date would be. It's the end of this box, I'm pretty sure is the yep. So it's going to be March 24th. Now, what's powerful about March 24th is we're now entering the shadow phase of Mercury retrograde. So we're currently Mercury is currently stationed retrograde, and it's going to go direct, I believe, between March 20th and March 21st. And that's a little danger zone vibes because we've had this happen in the past over here. Let me show you. Get to the Mercury retrograde chart. And I want to show you here in the last cycle, we had this Mercury retrograde, which aligned with the total lunar eclipse where Terra Luna collapsed. And that was the one in May into June, where, as I told you a little bit earlier, we had XRP bottoming. So XRP bottomed here. Bitcoin didn't. Bitcoin technically did go a little bit lower. But when we saw the biggest move down, so I want everyone to pay attention to what I'm going through right here. When we saw the biggest move down, the one that aligned with XRP's bottom and Dogecoin's bottom and Ethereum's bottom was during the shadow phase of Mercury retrograde after the total lunar eclipse. So we are having the total lunar eclipse today. And then we have the Mercury shadow phase after the total lunar eclipse. And that pretty much fell all throughout the shadow phase until like maybe 48 hours after. Funny enough, that aligns with Satoshi's birthday. So, yes, James, there's an opportunity for sure for the market, for the crypto market to be in another extreme in the first week of April. And I've been putting a lot of time into explaining that inside of the Red Pill podcasts. So there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of different angles to look at, but I think that's a solid connection to consider when we look at the last bear market. How did Bitcoin and the crypto market react to that Mercury retrograde that aligned with one of those powerful total lunar eclipses? So what is this? We can't go there now. We have much more important things to talk about. It's funny though. Much love over to Poland. That really means a lot to me. Pied Piper 72, I appreciate you. Except for anyone who hasn't given the Patreon a try, you won't regret what Waters Above has to offer, subject matter, community, learning, and decode. That really means a lot to me. I appreciate you. Joelle says my girlfriend wants to ask if you have any see any chance for Shiba Inu. Yeah, but it would be, I believe, dependent on a meme kind of rotation, which is probably not happening anytime soon. But I think the bottoming for the overall altcoin market is likely sooner than later. We're talking like within the next 40 to 50 days. So just like if you don't need to diversify, or if you're somebody who already holds SHIB, you're not in the worst position if we have an alt rotation later on. Whether that be later this year into the summertime, or whether that be into Q1 of 2027, which by the way isn't so far away in the grand scheme of things. If you're holding on to something that's just kind of like you've been holding on to, instead of getting rid of it at a loss or getting rid of it just because you're experiencing time capitulation, don't worry. Like, I don't think SHIB is going away. I do think, though, that things like the Clarity Act and potential other regulations will put a lot of scrutiny on projects like this, so that's why I would say don't invest in it right now. But if you're holding it, it's gonna go up with all, projects. If there's a meme moment, it will do decent, and I think Doge is gonna follow in the footsteps of the next major move that XRP just did. So whatever the move that XRP did here in I'm kinda giving you, like, a little bit of the cheat code. I'm gonna turn this noise off. So Doge just did this move. It's now about over here. This sideways chop, who cares? This was boring as shit for any crypto investor, but you know that if you got into XRP in these levels, it was a gift. And that type of move is gonna be the next move that Doge does, and then it will probably just slightly break all-time highs in the next cycle, but, like, it doesn't sound fun, but it's a pretty crazy move from where it is today. I mean, you're talking about if it could at least get to 80 to 90 cents, it doesn't even need to get to a dollar, and it's still 1,000% up from where it is right now. Just keep that in mind. And we're talking straight line breakout. I think that XRP has already paved the way for the structure of the move that will happen in the next time we get an alt rotation. For many alts, not all of them, but a lot of alts, especially ones that have a similar chart structure. It's been a while since I've looked at Bitcoin dominance. I'm just going to leave this in the background while I go through the chat. We're going to wrap this up soon. It's almost been 2 hours. This is a great question. Are Squeaky Doorknob and War Machine trolls, or are they unconventional moderators? Shout out to Squeaky Doorknob, shout out to War Machine. These are members of our community that have been around for a while. I don't think they're trolls. I think they're really great people who just like the way they communicate on the internet is maybe not the most understandable format, but I've had my times with both of those individuals where I've stopped, I've paused to share, that I want everyone in our community to understand each other more. And sometimes there are individuals that like you just can't tell what's their thing, like what's their angle. And I feel for both of like we everyone knows Squeaky Doorknob now is just a legend. War Machine also I feel like is rough around the edges, but has so much value to give our community. And it's like hard for me to say anything negative. So yeah, definitely not trolls, but definitely not moderators. That's for sure. Our community only has one moderator. It's Clementine. So shout out to Clementine. Mm. Martin says Waters. I asked earlier, but what are your thoughts on other truthers saying it's the Jesuits that run the world? Do you think the Jesuits use the Zionists as black sheep, or do you think? The, remember, Zionism is a mindset. Zionism is a mind parasite, and the Jesuits, for the most part, in any positions of power or depending on their bloodline, are Zionists. So look at it more from that angle. But like this whole idea that Jesuits run the whole thing, no, they have a role. Like they have a role. When you walk into a restaurant, if the restaurant only had a chef, but there was no waiter, there was no uh, system in place, it would be disorganized and therefore it wouldn't work at all. The thing that the New World Order has figured out is how to systematize this thing we call reality and society and culture. So when you isolate out one group of people, it's kind of like you're isolating out one part of the restaurant. You're being like, the world is ran by chefs. It's like, no, it's a band. There's a drummer, there's a singer, there's a guitar player, there's a piano player, there's a whole fucking string chord, symphony. There's a lot of moving parts here. So I think it's a little unsophisticated to go and say Jesuits run the world. Um, The same bullshit is with the people that are like the Jews around the world. Absolutely not. That's nonsense. Or the people that say the Catholics run the world or the no, they all run the world. They all have a role. Just like in the body, you have a digestive system, a respiratory system, you have your all of these systems keep the organism running. And then also all of those if one of those systems stops working, the whole body starts to degrade and it all collapses. So the fact that this thing still is operational proves that not only one thing is working, everything needs to work. And it's so elaborate and it's so multifaceted and it's incredibly compartmentalized. There is no possible way that you can just isolate one term and then say that runs the whole show. Think of it just like a body. There's a brain, there's a stomach, there's a liver, there's a spleen, there's a heart, there's lungs, there's kidneys, there's the liver, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. Let me teach you what the Jesuit like. Okay, I have to wrap this one up soon, but the Jesuits' role is military slash education. But that's only really like two things, and they've actually combined them both technically. So it's military and education. Sure, the world runs on a war machine. We could say that. Oh, okay. So the because war is the most like powerful. Yeah, but what about finance? The Jesuits don't run finance. The Jesuits don't actually really run much on the religious side of things either. Yes, they are the true Catholic Church. Like that's a side note though. Like, but that is a truth too. A lot of people like they start learning about Catholicism and they see a clear Jesuit ownership and rulership for sure. That's a fact. I'd be very cautious for the people out there calling themselves Catholics, you know? Study your history. Also, move on from the identity shit. That's also probably not serving you too well. But yeah, the concept of Zionism is across all those different things. It's like if you become an alcoholic, the alcohol starts to fuck up not just your liver, it will start to destroy the blood, the lymphatic system, therefore the kidneys will suffer. Then it starts to like the body becomes more catabolic. Growing muscle is difficult, gaining fat adiposity is easier. Your brain starts performing poorly, your sleep quality goes down. It doesn't mean that alcohol runs the whole thing, but it could definitely start to destroy the thing. Well, that's what Zionism is. It's a part of all of those identities, and that's why our world is the way that it is. Clearly. Hence, it's not just the Jews or Zionists, because they don't just run the world alone. They're all working together. They're all working together. Luke shares it's mad how the markets ain't doing much with this big world stage event when everyone is expecting crashes in crypto and pumps and metals. It's doing the opposite in both directions. It's because it's not the fucking war or the news that runs this shit. It's astrology primarily. That's all that matters right now. So we were already exhausted with our selling pressure here in crypto land. How much fucking lower can it go? We have a lot of altcoins that are below the C19 crash lows, right? We're exhausted to the downside. So there's not much more selling possible here. Good news, I suppose, for crypto people. Horrible news for precious metals people because the people that are just expecting up and up and up and up in precious metals, sorry, to break it to you, but those were overheated, right? So everything is in balance right now. And wars and these big narratives, these big events on the world stage are here to create balance. That's all. Dog with Tools Guide says, "What is wealth? What is wealthy today? Wealthy is when you have loyalty surrounding you. It's when you have someone to share your feelings with, how things are going for you in a very real way. It's to be seen. It's to be listened to and not heard. It's to know that at any time there's someone that will be there for you at your lows, someone that when you're at your highs, they're not grubbing, they're not like leeching. If you have those things, if you have loyalty and you have an honor system and a value system that means more to you than accepting some shekels, then you're wealthy. Now there's financial parts of being wealthy, sure. But I think a lot of people skip over that foundation and then they end up with a corrupted, rich reality. And that's why the amount of money they gained can go all away at just as quick, if not quicker. And of course, at the end of the day, I'm not the one who sets the definition of wealth for you. You have to determine what wealth means to you. That's all that matters. What do I know? Got a super chat from Michael SP Don, sending lots of love. I believe it's over in Switzerland. Shout out to Switzerland. Where are the Swiss Wolves at, bro? There must be a lot of y'all. Appreciate you. Said Jordan, my brother, what's your thoughts on the pyramids? You really want to know? My thoughts on the pyramids is that the pyramids are the parasite system. Okay, let me be slow. The pyramids are what keeps this parasitic system in full operation. They've turned it into this idea that, ancient aliens built in this and blah, blah, blah. They want it to be so glorious for a reason, so that you don't realize what it's doing. Whether you believe in there being a consciousness grid or not, I don't fucking care. But we have areas of this realm that have an energy vortex, if you will. They have like an energetic pull. We can clearly just observe the way the animals behave in those areas, and that gives you a lot of, you know, anecdotal evidence for you to work on, for you to um, consider. You don't need to convince anybody of these things. But then there's certain places throughout this realm that we have no idea how humans could have possibly built, because here we are today and like the greatest human accomplishment is a fucking skyscraper made of metal and glass that could be destroyed in a single, tsunami or a earthquake. But then we have these types of s- unbelievable structures such as the pyramids of Giza, and we instantly assume that these are great, powerful, positive structures, right? Because that's very typical of humans. When we see things that we don't comprehend, it's very natural to be like, "Oh, something very smart and something that was very sophisticated and had our backs and had our best interest in mind, et cetera, et cetera." Like we make that assumption. Well, my truth here on the pyramids is that as they stand, they were put in place to ensure that the consciousness of humanity would always be at at a predictable level that it can never go above without a sacrifice. So what do I mean by that is we have the level of consciousness that we have, it cannot expand past a certain threshold as long as those pyramids are still around. Someone has to leave this physical realm, this physical matrix, and then they will get replaced instantaneously by another whatever, newborn baby, however you want to look at it. People are thinking that you awaken sometime during your life. That is nonsense. You are infinite consciousness before you arrive in a body. These pyramids are not spiritual. These pyramids are not holy. They are not great. They're not good. They are not positive. They keep this beast system, this parasitic system operational. If there was anything to be destroyed on this realm, it would be that. It'd be the pyramids. I know I might sound a little crazy right now, but this is probably the first time you ever fucking heard this idea. It's very clear to me that what we've experienced lately is not an elevation of consciousness. Just because you learn about flat earth, you learn about whatever the Zionists, you learn about whatever these pedophiles are doing, just because you learned about more shit doesn't mean you're evolving. It doesn't mean you have more consciousness. It means you have more information. Okay? This is different. It's very different. Having a bunch of information isn't so impressive in the spirit realm. Doesn't make you a better father, doesn't make you a better husband, it doesn't make you a better community leader, it doesn't make you really more skilled in anything, it doesn't really give you too much more than you just have some fancy ideas that you could showboat in a room. And if anything, having more information about these concepts that the average person would coin as, or they would instantly identify as a conspiracy theory, that would put you into attack mode or defense mode about your ideas. Correct? You've all seen it happen. You probably had this experience because of the C-19 scam when everyone in your reality started wearing masks and telling you to not get close to them and that they're talking about the jabs and this and that. What did that do ultimately for humanity? It divided people more because you had more knowledge and information. It created more division, and most of you chose to let that happen. How many people actually acquired this knowledge and information and decided to come together with people beyond just you both agreeing that germ theory is a scam? This is pretty mind-blowing shit to think about, right? And I'll reveal to you why that's the case. It's because it's comfortable to be with people who agree with you about the same shit that you're interested in. Doesn't mean consciousness is somehow growing or expanding. Has nothing to do with that. Consciousness expansion is about you knowing that people have their journey. You allow that journey, and still you never label them for where they're at in their journey. And even if they get aggressive and defensive and they still try to prove how their mainstream understanding is their the capstone of their belief pyramid, you still do everything in your power to see God inside of them. That is consciousness expansion. And I believe that is very difficult to do in this realm because of the pyramids. If those pyramids were gone, this shit would get off the rails real fast. The real consciousness expansion would occur. It would be like the lid is blown off of this thing, and you would start seeing a mass awakening, a true mass awakening where it's like almost like a zombie apocalypse or some shit. Because all of this material, worldly possession, obsession, and this idea of chasing becoming rich and all of that, it will become irrelevant. And I think the pyramids have a major role in all of this. And you're not going to hear this from Graham Hancock. You're not going to see this from all the people like Billy Carson, all the people that like defend the greatness of this structure. I am going the opposite. And it would be amazing to have this conversation with somebody who's puts a lot of their prana into defending the greatness of the pyramids. I would love to have that conversation. But I believe I'm onto something there because it's a very intuitive feeling that I've always had throughout all of my study. By the way, I brought up some names a second ago, and it's not to call them out. It's not to say that they're shills or scammers or like Like, this comment, Billy Carson on some I don't know. I'm not here to this is not my sport. My sport isn't to debate with anyone or say that I know more than them or I'm better. I'm just going the unconventional route with a lot of these things because it's what my heart tells me. Like, I'm letting my heart speak, not my mind. My mind naturally would gravitate towards, "Oh, the pyramids, they're impossible to build, so they must have been built by some amazing golden age species that was so much more enlightened and aware than that doesn't resonate with my heart at all. My heart tells me the reason the world is what it is because it's like a big marketing campaign. And whenever the marketing campaign points to one thing as it's great and holy and amazing, yet I see it just become a big tourist, you know, like a cesspool of tourism and conspiracy theories. It tells me very quickly that I should be cautious about jumping on the bandwagon. And that served me very well throughout my life. It's like Oscar Wilde says, everything that's popular is wrong. Zach Fox Official, sending you lots of love, brother. I appreciate you. You said, can you please recommend some resources, books, or videos for people starting to learn these things? It's hard to know where to get started. What's the thing that you feel you're the most excited or passionate about? Like, I think for me, one thing that helped me with my worldview was watching Europa The Last Battle. I've been talking about it for 5 years. I think that's like, holy moly, craziest documentary. It's very long, but it opened me up to starting to question about a lot of things that are in our historical narrative, such as the realm in general. Like, how were all of these structures built? How was some of this architecture built that we have not seen be built with our own eyes? And we have grandmothers, grandfathers that have been around for a long time. They don't have a single picture of how this type of shit has been built because it hasn't been built in hundreds of years. So that like opened up that pathway for me. The same thing with the transatlantic slave trade, the concept of, the slaying of the Africans, the enslavement of the Africans. There's a lot going into that. I don't want to spend too much time there, but again, everything that's popular is wrong. So there's always some other side of the story that we never get to hear. And Europa The Last Battle tells us the other side of the story of World War II. And that really opened a lot of doors. So other than that, maybe the mucusless diet by Arnold Ehret. I don't read though, so I can't give you any book recommendations. That's probably gonna blow some people's minds, but I've been very open about that since I started my channel. I just don't read. It's not interesting to me. It doesn't enter. All right, I gotta go. It's been almost a half an hour. I love you guys. What an amazing chat. 97% of the chat was not about crypto or charts. I actually opened up the floor to talk more about finance and crypto, and uh, we didn't get there. So it tells me my community is very different, and I love it. It's so dope. I really appreciate you guys. It's been incredible to see us on this. What is it? A Tuesday? You guys are epic, bro. So cool. Return back to YouTube. I'll be maybe doing these instead of YouTube videos intermittently. Maybe once every other week or something. I'm not sure, but it felt really dope to connect with you guys in this way, talk about other things, but also open up the charts and share some thoughts there. And for those of you that want more frequent market updates, again, I have this Red Pill podcast that I do every Sunday. And then I also have this Year of the Horse Decoded presentation that I just released for the entire year of 2026. Absolutely mind blowing decode. So that's available for our mastermind community over at patreon.com/watersabove. You join that membership, you get this entire presentation plus 550 exclusive posts, plus every red pill I've ever done. This upcoming red pill podcast I'll do on Sunday. It's only $9.99 for a membership, so it's full month of value. Go ahead, check it out, and once you get access, you can immediately watch this presentation. It'll probably take you a couple days, maybe, unless you're one of those people that you just want to binge it in one session. But it's 2.5 hours long, so it's going to be pretty mind blowing for you guys to see it in this well put together format instead of just like in this live where we're all over the place. But I appreciate you guys joining us, taking the time to hang out, and I'll be catching you all very soon. Much love. Appreciate y'all. Catch you all soon.